Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Break it down!
Alright, Kyle and Remy back here at Woodland Week 2. This will be one of the sites of our games of the week. Ansonia Woodland. Naugatuck Derby is our other game of the week. We picked here because it's closer to both of us. So let's go over our Week 2 predictions. To start off, we'll save our games of the week. That video will be out on Wednesday along with our thread, so make sure you check on that. But last week's predictions, a few of you guys went 8-1. Kudos to you. We're a little bit behind. Even the defending champ Remmy only went 7-2. I was 6-3 in Week 1, so see what we can do to rebound here. First game of the week, it'll be a Thursday night game, the only Thursday night game after we had a lot of early action last week. Seymour traveling to Municipal Stadium to take on Sacred Heart. Cats 1-0, Sacred Heart 0-1. Storyline here, what does Seymour really have? This is their chance to prove what they've got. And can Sacred Heart bounce back from a subpar performance against Woodland?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I mean, obviously, I don't think Seymour's as powerful as Woodland is on either side of the ball, but Seymour definitely has what it takes to get a win up there. I just think that Sacred Heart might have too many athletes for the Cats to contain. I see Grabowski throwing for a couple scores in this game. The running back John Wilson had an awesome game last week. He's a little bit undersized, so we'll see how that plays out this week at the Muni.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what John Wilson could do, because if you saw, even if you weren't at the game, if you saw in the post-game video, you can see what a small guy he is. And if you didn't check those post-game videos out, they are down below. Remy did a nice job shooting him for us last week, but he is small. The good thing is for Seymour is that Sacred Heart's defense didn't look particularly good against Woodland here last week. There was plenty of room to run. Tanner Kingsley had a good success throwing, so you got to figure Seymour's offense is going to be able to score. The problem is, will they be able to stop the Sacred Heart offense that is sort of touch and go? They had success throwing the ball in the third quarter against Woodland the other night, so you'd have to figure that's what they want to do. But it's going to take them a little while. Dave Coggins is not there. You could see the effects of him not being there on the field. DJ Ellis is still there, but we'll see what happens. I've got Seymour 35-26 in that game. I see a high-scoring game in that one.
I have Sacred Heart winning 27-18, just because I think the weakest part of the Seymour team may be its secondary. So Sacred Heart, which is obviously a passing team, I think will show some vulnerability in that Seymour secondary.
All right, so right off the bat, we differ on one pick. We only differed on, I think we only differed on the Ansonia-Torrington game last week. So right off the bat here, we'll go to another one. This is a battle of winless teams. Kennedy 0-1 at Wilby. That one scheduled for Wilby High. We'll see if they want to move it to the stadium or not. I don't know what the schedule is, but right now it's at Wilby High. And the storyline of this one, how does Wilby build on its performance against Lyman Hall?
Well, I think, both teams had something to take away from their losses last week. I think Wilby had a little bit more to take away from the loss because they had the game in their hands, late. Kennedy jumped out in front of Wolcott, and then a big play by Bonvillian, that scoop and score in the red zone, and Kennedy's red zone. I guess took the momentum out of, or took the wind out of Kennedy, and Wolcott picked up the win. So I think Kennedy's the more depleted team here. From all the things we've heard in the off season, I think Wilby might have a little bit more talent than Kennedy. But like everyone says from week to week about Kennedy, with that offense that Chris Sarlo runs, I mean, you never know if that'll keep him in the game or not. So I have Wilby winning this one 26-12.
And Wilby did, from all accounts, look pretty good the other week. They had 200-yard rushers in Jacob Thomas, I believe his name is.
Their run defense was pretty good.
Yeah, run defense was good, and everything in all aspects of the ground was good. You expect that out of a Pat Russo coach team. Jalen Mayen, the quarterback, he was running around, so two pretty viable rushing threats. It sort of looks like a more powerful version of the Kennedy sort of offense, where they like to keep it on the ground. I've got Wilby 26-6. You got to figure they feel pretty good, and they were pretty disappointed about the Lyman Hall loss, so you think they bounce back here. Another bounce back opportunity. Wolcott was 1-0, Torrington 0-1. Maybe you didn't see that in terms of records coming in week 1, but here's the storyline. Does Torrington pull a Wolcott from last year? They go into Ansonia, they lose a big game. Can they rebound?
I think it's a little bit too early to be asking that question, but right after this week we'll know. If Torrington rebounds with a big win here, with a big win up in Wolcott, I'm sorry, up in Torrington, which would be a home game for him.
Right.
I think it can catapult them into a pretty good season. The kids need their confidence back, and a game like I guess this is the best thing that can happen to those guys. Just get the Ansonia loss off of their minds and move forward. So, two things are going to happen: either Torrington's going to lose this game and pull a Wolcott from last year, more than likely, or win big and win big at Wolcott and use them as the whipping boy, so to say, this week. So I have Torrington winning this game. I think they'll definitely rebound. I have them winning 28-18.
Yeah, I've got Torrington also winning. A pretty similar score. I've got 28-14 in that game, and you have to think that Torrington is going to get back, running the ball. You figure they'll be even a little more aggressive this week, wanting to prove a little something up there with Brendan Litton. And Wolcott's offense, by all accounts, not very sharp. They only scored one offensive touchdown. Bonvillian's fumble recovered for touchdown, obviously, as you mentioned. So not looking for a ton of offense out of Wolcott, I wouldn't think. A good chance for Torrington to sort of settle things down and realize we've got the whole division in front of us, we've got the whole season in front of us, so got them with the win.
It'll also be interesting to see if they can get some kind of passing game going, because that's going to be important. I'm sure Wolcott is watching the Ansonia Torrington film, saying, look, let's pack the box.
Right.
I mean, Naugatuck did it to Ansonia last year, and last week's game between Torrington and Ansonia looked similar, but Torrington was on the worst end of it. So it'll be interesting to see if they get some kind of passing game going and throw the opposing defense off balance.
Yeah, absolutely. You figure they get another chance to play Ansonia and some of these other teams in the division. They might need a little something like that. We move on, maybe the 1A after our 2 games of the week, so sort of a 2A game. Watertown at Holy Cross. Now, Watertown, we weren't sure what they had coming into the season after losing Mac Quattrano and some of their other players. But they held their own against a fairly solid Montville team. They did lose some themselves, but they only lost by 1 touchdown. And then you have Holy Cross 1-0, a lot of people's division favorite in the Copper. And although they beat Crosby, not a real impressive performance on either side of the ball.
Yeah, I have Holy Cross winning this game, despite what Kyle just said. But I have them winning this game. A pretty close game. I think it'll be ugly again. I have Holy Cross on top of Watertown, 27-22. Like I mentioned in last week's clip, Holy Cross has a habit of winning ugly since I've lived up here. They sort of have a habit of winning ugly against lesser opponents, but they usually show up against teams that in bigger games. So I think I obviously have them winning the Copper, but I think this team is going to win some close games, albeit they're ugly. But right. I think they'll be able to pull out the win.
Well, good teams do win close games, so certainly last week's the final score didn't look real close, with the 2-touchdown win, but it was much closer than the score suggested. The offense wasn't real sharp. They did have a fairly good running game. The passing game didn't click, and talking to Mike Giampetruzzi after the game, and he knows they have to pass the ball better, and maybe here's a chance to do it this week. I've got Holy Cross 14-7, another pretty ugly game. Holy Cross's defense looked very good against Crosby. They only gave up like 132 total yards, so that might be their hallmark this season. So I've got them winning a pretty defensive game, 14-7. And our last non-game of the week game, St. Paul 0-1 at Crosby 0-1. That one Friday at 7 at Jimmy Lee Stadium. And can St. Paul play any defense, and can Crosby build from what was an okay performance? They felt like they underachieved against Holy Cross, but where do these two teams go?
I haven't seen Crosby yet during the off season, nor have I seen him, at the start of the year. But they did play Cross pretty well, so I have them blowing out St. Paul 38-8. I think Crosby has to have more athletes than St. Paul. I haven't seen. I mean, I hate to say it, but I haven't seen a team play this bad in the NVL since I've been up here for 4 years. I mean, I'm just speaking about St. Paul's performance against Derby. Maybe they had a bad night, first game jitters or something, but athlete for athlete, I don't think they match up with Crosby very well.
And St. Paul, direct all your emails to Remmy on that one. But no, they did sound pretty bad, St. Paul, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Crosby's offense didn't look great, so this might be one of those games where it really could go either way. I've got Crosby 27-21 in this game. They did have a commitment to throwing the ball. I think they threw the ball about 20 times in that Holy Cross game. not particularly accurately, but there are some playmakers on that offensive side, and with the defense certainly not up to Holy Cross's standards, you figure Crosby can make some gains, and it'll just be the question of whether they can defend the pass. St. Paul did look like I have a couple of playmakers in Marchie and Justin Gonzalez on the outside. And
their running back's a horse as well.
Yeah, Jordan Rowley played pretty well on the final stat line, so we'll see what happens there. But I've got 27-21 in favor of Crosby there. So that'll do it for our non-game of the week picks, and we will be back on Wednesday as the video coming out. We'll take a look at Ansonia Woodland. We'll take a look at Naugatuck Derby, 2 interdivision games, but mean a lot to both the fan bases, all 4 of the fan bases, as well as some other implications. So I want to thank you guys, as always, for joining us in these videos. Next week, Rem might not be here for a video, but if he's not, I'll take it myself. But we do appreciate it, and for all of you who said you recognize my ugly face, and now you can recognize my camo hoodie at games, here I am. Remmy, you can always recognize this guy. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot. Visit the blog and Twitter at NVL Football. Thanks a lot. Take care.
See ya.